It was September 28, 2008. The city of Singapore gathered to witness the battle at the newly built Marina Bay street circuit. The race was the first Grand Prix ever to be held at night. Among the competitors, Fernando Alonso lined up in 15th place, a challenging starting position for the two-time world champion. His Renault team knew the odds were stacked against them, but in Formula 1, anything could happen. As the lights went out, Alonso did his thing. He fought hard, but the Renault struggled for pace, and the chance of finishing at the top was nearly impossible, especially when you're that far back in the race. That's when disaster struck. At lap 14, Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed into the barriers, causing a safety car period. The race was neutralized, creating a golden opportunity for those who were strategically prepared. The next lap saw a Ferrari pit blunder, leaving a fuel hose attached to leader Felipe Massa's car. With the field bunched up behind the safety car, Alonso's Renault team seized the moment. A perfectly timed pit stop and the strategic advantage of the safety car allowed Alonso to move up the ranks to P4. With Alonso playing his part and the stars aligning, technical problems with Mark Webber's car and Massa's car spinning out made Fernando Alonso cross the finish line in the first place, achieving a stunning victory that seemed almost miraculous given his starting position. The win really seemed to be a comeback no one expected. But behind the cheers and celebrations, a storm was brewing. What seemed like an extraordinary triumph would soon unravel into a story of intrigue and deception. What if Alonso's win was not just a stroke of luck? What if there was a calculated plan between this dramatic turn of events? This is the story of Crashgate, the scandal that shook Formula 1. To understand Crashgate, we must unravel a web of deceit that extended beyond the racetrack. What seemed like a stroke of fortune for Alonso was in fact the result of a calculated and clandestine strategy by someone behind the shadows in the pits. The mastermind of it all. His name? Flavio Briatore. Born in rural Italy in 1950, Briatore's early life was unremarkable. Dropping out of multiple schools and failing to impress academically, his first business venture, a restaurant named Tribula, was quickly shut down under mounting debt. Tribula was his nickname, and it meant someone who would do anything to get what they want. A man who'd go on to secure 7 Grand Prix title wins in F1, Flavio didn't even know what F1 was at that time. An aspiring businessman, they called him, Flavio had never thought of entering any motorsport. By early 1970, he worked as an assistant to a mafia boss who owned a paint company, who was assassinated soon after. That's when he moved to work at the Italian stock exchange, where he crossed paths with this guy, Lucien Benetton, the owner of a colorful apparel company. It was 1980s, and with his strong passion for money, Flavio had committed a couple of frauds and was caught. Briatore's life was marked by legal troubles, including a 4.5-year prison sentence. He fled to the Virgin Islands to avoid jail time, but Briatore stayed in touch with Benetton and set up stores for his brand. In 1986, Benetton expanded into the US market, making Briatore a wealthy man. Flavio knew fully well he can't let Benetton go. That's when Benetton bought the two-man F1 team, and Briatore was asked to take over as the commercial director of that team, for which he couldn't say no. He had little interest in F1, but Briatore's knack for surrounding himself with top talent who covered his weaknesses was successful, making him the managing director in 1990. In 1991, Benetton signed a rookie driver called Michael Schumacher, who quickly impressed the team with his skills. That's when Benetton rose up to become one of the best teams out there, thanks to Flavio's management. But we know who Flavio was, and his success came with a dark cloud of controversy. In 1994, Schumacher's championship win was marred by allegations of cheating, including suspicions of illegally modified refueling techniques and removal of the fuel filter to gain time at the pit stop, which seemingly caused this fire involving Max's dad.
Is that fuel splashing?
Added to this, the Benetton's team faced further scrutiny when they were accused of benefiting from an illegal sharing of technical data with the Ligier team. Even though their driver Michael Schumacher won 2 consecutive championships, Benetton's reputation was worsening because of Flavio's approach to winning. Furthermore, Briatore's connections and previous scandals didn't help the situation. The illegal activities linked to his earlier ventures, such as the fraudulent casino operations, added to his dubious image. And in order to save themselves from the fall, Benetton finally let go of Flavio at 1997, replacing him with David Richards. For the next 2 years, Flavio would supply Mechachrome-built Renault engines under the company name Supertech. In 2000, Renault bought the Benetton team. And guess who entered F1 as manager again? It was Flavio. He then introduced what he called his greatest find to the team as a test driver. He was a Spaniard called Fernando Alonso. It was not long before Flavio replaced his driver Jenson Button with Alonso. With Alonso, Renault won both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championships in 2005 and 2006. However, Alonso turned his back on Briatore to sign for rivals McLaren for 2007. In 2008, Alonso returned to Renault and Flavio was keen to make him a 3-time world champion. But it was not looking good for Alonso as he was at 10th place, 26 points. There were 5 days before the next fixture at Singapore, and Flavio had to come up with something. Pre-race meetings were conducted, and it seemed Flavio had put in work. With the then Director of Engineering Pat Simons and co-driver Nelson Piquet Jr., it really showed that Flavio had come up with something. A strategy that might later ban him and his director from all motorsport. It was race day. Alonso started 15th. Things were not looking good for him, and it was time to pull off Flavio's master plan. After a cue from the team, Nelson Piquet Jr. made his move. In a calculated maneuver, Piquet deliberately crashed into the barriers at turn 17 on lap 14, triggering the safety car. The race was neutralized and the field bunched up behind the safety car, creating the perfect opportunity for Alonso's strategically timed pit stop. The timing was crucial. Alonso's Renault team executed their pit stop flawlessly, allowing him to gain several positions. When the safety car came in, Alonso was now in a position to capitalize on the altered race dynamics. As the race resumed, Alonso made the most of his new position. He maintained his lead and despite this challenging start, crossed the finish line in first place. The victory seemed almost miraculous given his 15th place start. Flavio's men seemed to pull off the plan to perfection. Nelson's hard tyres were blamed for the crash and Alonso rose in the leaderboard, brightening his chance of winning the championship. Not a soul could believe that an impossible race was actually an orchestrated plan. Flavio Briatore, the man behind the curtain, went scot-free. Or did he? Beneath the surface of victory and celebration, whispers of suspicion began to stir. The orchestrated crash, once masked as a stroke of bad luck, started to unravel. Allegations emerged and the truth about Crashgate began to surface. As investigations took hold, it became clear that the apparent luck of Alonso's win was part of a much darker strategy. July 2009, 10 months after the race, Nelson Piquet Jr. revealed that the crash was deliberately orchestrated by his Renault team. September 2009, almost a year after the race, the FIA's World Motorsport Council held a hearing where it was confirmed that the crash was indeed part of a deliberate strategy. Flavio, Briatore and Pat Simons were found guilty of conspiring to fix the race. 5 days later, Briatore and Simons were banned from the sport, and Renault was handed a suspended ban, meaning they would only be banned if they committed a similar offense in the following 2 years. Nevertheless, Alonso's win stood and wasn't changed. The facade of a flawless plan crumbled, revealing the depth of deceit that had marred the Singapore Grand Prix. In 2010, the French court ruling found that the FIA's ban on Flavio and Pat was procedurally flawed, which led to the ban being overturned. The court deemed that the FIA did not follow proper procedures in implementing the ban and that it was not legally justified. As a result, the ban was lifted, allowing Briatore to return to the motorsport community, although he chose not to re-enter Formula One in a prominent role. Now, Flavio works for Team Alpine. Briatore's new role is described as that of a special supervisor who was appointed to this role by Renault CEO Luca Di Meo. Pat worked for Williams and later joined FIA as a chief technical officer. This incident of Crashgate was a real example of how far some would go to manipulate the outcome and the high price of such deceit. Or was it a fair, out-of-the-box thinking strategism nobody could come up with? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this, watch some of my other videos too.